Hello and welcome to the HockeyNorth podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Croom, joined here with my good friend Brendan Pawliw. Brendan, how are you doing this weekend?
I'm well. It's a bit chilly, but other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's definitely getting cold, and I think heading into the week here, it's probably going to be the coldest we've had it so far here in these winter months, and I can definitely say I'm pretty underprepared myself.
Yeah,
All
definitely
right.
going to need to invest in some long johns. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And on the podcast today, we are going to have a bit of a goaltending special here from the north. We have Michael Garteig joining us first. And then after that, we have U17 AAA goaltender Ryder Green, who is also a goaltending prospect for the Brandon Wheat Kings of the Western Hockey League. But before we dive into that here, Brendan, what are some updates for some of our northern athletes playing across the junior ranks?
Well, taking a look here, first and foremost in the BC Junior Hockey League, John Harrington still leading the way for the Prince George Spruce Kings in scoring 26 points in 28 games. Spruce Kings splitting their final road trip before the Christmas break. A 3-2 overtime victory against the Nanaimo Clippers was followed up by a tough decision in Chilliwack, where the Spruce Kings unfortunately lost that game. So Harrington leading the way there. Also, Lyndon Macau, 15 points in 28 games for the Spruce Kings. Other Northern prospects or Northern products, rather, on that team. Scott Cousins, who turned in quite the performance down on the island on Friday. He's got 3 points in 16 games. And of course, Jordan Fairley, 21 games this year with the Prince George Spruce Kings. He's been a stalwart in goal, 14-6-0, 2.59 goals against average, 903 save percentage for him. So that's the 20-year-old product out of Fort St. John. Taking a look at the Merit Centennials, Diego Johnson of Fort St. James, 11 points in 24 games. Diego going pointless over the weekend in a pair of matchups against Cranbrook and Trail. Nathan Mackey of Prince George playing for the Salmon Arms Silverbacks, the Michigan State commit for the 2024-25 season, at a near point per game pace for the Silverbacks, 25 points in 29 games. Mackey over the weekend also going scoreless in a Cranbrook road trip against the Bucks and the Trail Smoke Eaters. So he did not hit the score sheet there in terms of goals and assists. Brady McIsaac, Alberni Valley Bulldogs, just the two helpers in 15 games this season. He went pointless in 3 games over the course of the week. Bulldogs were on a lower mainland road trip through Coquitlam, Surrey, and Langley. Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, Alex Ochitwa of the Nipawin Hawks putting up a nice season for himself in his overage year. 10 goals, 7 assists for 17 points in 31 games. Ochitwa had a goal and a helper against the Melfort Mustangs on Friday, December the 16th, in a 6-3 win at home over the Stangs at the Nipawin Centennial Arena. Next night in Melfort, between those two rivals, it was the Mustangs exacting their revenge, winning 8-3 thanks to a 6-goal second period for the Stangs. Also want to note that Owen Pawliw, the former Cariboo Cougar, playing for Melfort in the SJHL. He had 19 penalty minutes in that game on Saturday. So the White Horse product showing the grit down in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Dawson Smith, he's been a winning machine so far this season for the Laurent Ice Wolves. 15-5-0-1-1, 2.28 goals against average, 936 save percentage for the Ice Wolves netminder. Dawson Smith on a bit of a tear. He had, going into the Christmas break, he won 8 of his last 10 starts, losing just one of them outright, and then in the other one was a loss in extra time. But Dawson Smith, for my money, in the MVP consideration in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Jackson Hassman, Weyburn Red Wings, he's also in his overage year, 12 goals, 2 assists, 104 penalty minutes. He scored on Friday at home against the Weyburn Red Wings. The next night, he took 2 minor penalties in a road game against the Humboldt Broncos. Already touched on Owen Pawliw, just the 2 assists in 7 games, but already 35 penalty minutes for him. In the Alberta Junior Hockey League, Decker Moinchin of the Grand Prairie Storm, 2 goals, 3 assists, good enough for 5 points in 30 games. Of course, he started the year in Spruce Grove with the Saints. Moinchin finished off the 16th and 17th pointless in 2 games on the road. Grand Prairie will finish off their pre-Christmas schedule of road games in Olds and Okotoks, Olds and Drumheller rather, before heading home on Wednesday the 21st. So a busy schedule for them. Hunter Brown of the Spruce Grove Saints, the Fort St. John product, continuing to roll along, 26 points and 29 outings, and that includes a point streak for Hunter that has now reached over 10 games now. Brown scoring on Saturday in a game on the 17th on the road against the Camrose Kodiaks. It was a 6-4 victory for Spruce Grove in that one. Brown also had a helper the night prior against Fort McMurray. They defeated the Oil Barons 5-2 at home in that one. So a lot of on-ice success for the perennial contender Saints. Brophy Dunn, also a member of that team, 10 points in 27 games for him. He also had a helper in Saturday's victory against Camrose. And Quinn Disher, Fort St. John, BC, former Trail Smoke Eater, now suiting up for the Brooks Bandits. Just the 2 assists in 7 games heading into the Christmas break for him. Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, taking a look at the Junior B ranks now. Jasper Tate of Prince George and Fort St. James, 7-4-0-1 on the season for the Nelson Leafs. 3.29 goals against average, 905 save percentage for him. Got a no decision in a game on Sunday against Osoyoos there. He allowed 6 goals on 39 shots in that contest against the high-flying Coyotes. 100 Mile House Wranglers near the bottom of the standings, but still close to a dozen Northern products on that roster. Carter Yarish ripping up the KIJHL, 53 points in 25 games for him. He's on a tear right now in terms of a point streak. I mean, he's last time he did not register a point was November 5th, so that's how hot he's been. And over the last 3 games, he's compiled 8 points, 3 assists on December 13th against North Okanagan. And then Castlegar had just the 1 helper. Then the following night against Jasper Tate and the Nelson Leafs, 1 goal and 3 helpers there. So Carter Yarish ripping it up there. Other Northern products on that team, Jack Henderson of Quesnel, 42 points in 24 games. Ethan Flores of Vanderhoof, 11 points in 25 outings. Zach Leslie of Prince George, former Cariboo Cougar grad as well, 9 points in 19 games. And last but certainly not least, we have Kenny Giroux of the Osoyoos Coyotes. He's also a Prince George product, splitting time between the pipes for the Coyotes. 9-3 on the season, 3.07 goals against average, 904 save percentage. His last win came on December the 13th against North Okanagan. So congratulations, Kenny. Kamloops Storm, taking a look at their stats for the season. Jake Phillips Watts of Quesnel, 9 points in 27 games, followed by his brother Colton Phillips Watts. He's started in 8 games for Kamloops, compiling a record of 6-1-0, 2 shutouts to boot there. A 1.71 goals against average, 932 save percentage for Colton. He won on Sunday in a game against the Summerland Storm. 17 saves on 18 shots in that victory over Summerland. Kelowna Chiefs, a couple of Northern products there as well. Dane Levesque, 15 points in 28 games, manning the blue line for the Kelowna Chiefs. Jackson Redmond as well, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points for the 19-year-old out of Prince George. Junior B ranks continuing on. Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League. Chase Pacheco, 27 points, 28 games. That included a goal on Sunday in their game at home against the Peninsula Panthers, where they won 6-0. Port Alberta actually got outshot in that game, 39-31, but lighting the lamp there was Pacheco. His teammate, Kenyon McIsaac of Prince George, 14 points in 26 games, 72 PIMs on the year. He played on Friday against Nanaimo Buccaneers, did not register a point in a 3-0 win there. So there you have it, your Junior A and Junior B roundup for all our northern products that are from Prince George and area.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brendan. And we're going to move on here to the Western Hockey League recap. We're going to start here at home for the hometown team. The Prince George Cougars hosted Kamloops over the weekend. Both games making the way to overtime. Unfortunately, the Prince George Cougars, with the valiant effort coming back, they went 0-2 over the weekend with those 2 overtime losses. We're going to go now to Seattle. Niko Majatovic and the Thunderbirds went 2-0 over the weekend as that team continues to stay hot. Tanner Molendyk and Smith Redmond, both Northern BC products. McBride BC for Molendyk and Prince George for Redmond. Saskatoon went 2-0 on the weekend. Prince Albert Raiders and the Fort St. James BC product. Terrell Goldsmith, they went 1-0 on the weekend. Lethbridge having Prince George's Miguel Marquez and Chetwynd's Hayden Smith. They went 0-2 over the weekend. And Carson Golder of Terrace BC with the Kelowna Rockets, after being dealt there not too long ago by the Edmonton Oil Kings. They went 1-1 over the weekend. And we're going to transition now into our Cariboo Hockey Weekly. We're going to start here with the team at home, the U15 AAA Cariboo Cougars hosting the Greater Vancouver Canadians. A really big high-scoring game there on the Saturday night. The Cariboo Cougars, they did have the lead, and Greater Vancouver inched and scrape their way back in, forcing the overtime where that game ends at a 5-5 tie. Both teams get away with a point. The Cariboo Cougars come back with maybe a little bit of taste for blood as they look for some revenge, and they ended up getting a 3-2 win here on the Sunday morning. Now for the U17s, they went 1-1 on the weekend on the road. The U18s went 0-2. The Northern Capitals, they are still currently on their break. They resume again at the end of the first week of January. And that's going to wrap up there our Cariboo Hockey Weekly report. And Brendan Pawliw, how would you introduce our next guest?
Well, Mike Garteig, it's been a long and winding road for him, starting out obviously through Prince George minor hockey, playing a level down his first year in any level in my chat with Mike, and then playing up the following year. I mean, he's been everywhere. He's starred in Powell River, was on that magnificent team that's inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame and the Penticton V's recently for the BC Hockey Hall of Fame, having a lot of success there. Went through the ranks, NCAA with Quinnipiac, where he enjoyed 4 great seasons, signing with the Canucks, ECHL championship with the Newfoundland Growlers, and now starring in Germany with ERC Ingolstadt. And here's my chat with Michael Garteig. It's definitely one you don't want to miss. Well, my next guest is in the record books in several leagues. BCHL top goalie. He's got the even the league trophy named after for top goaltender now in the league that he played in. Talking about Prince George product and ERC Ingolstadt starting netminder Michael Garteig. Michael, welcome to the HockeyNorth podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Michael, you're in Germany now playing professional hockey. What's the experience like over there right now for you?
Oh, it's been good. It's I played here 2 years ago, and it was a COVID year, so coming back now with fans and full rinks and all of the above, it's been really enjoyable, and I'm enjoying Germany as a country this time around a lot more, and yeah, it's been good. I'm having a lot of fun.
Of course, you're the starting netminder for them, for ERC Ingolstadt. Just maybe talk about the type of team you have. Just talk about how the season's going in the DEL, the top ranked league in Germany, and what it's been like so far.
It's been good. We had a coaching change coming into this year, so we had new GM, new coaching staff from head coach, assistant coach, goalie coach, and I think it's really benefited us as a team. We've kind of changed our structure and our style, and the league's pretty known to be pretty offensive, and we've actually been quite defensive, and I think that's why we've had success so far, and we're sitting in third place out of 15 teams, and that's pretty good in this league. For some of these teams have some pretty big budgets and can spend a lot of money, and for us to be where we are is good.
So would you kind of consider Ingolstadt to be kind of like a budget team, or a team that's maybe doesn't have as high a payroll as some of your other opponents?
Well, in the German league, there's a couple teams that are they're very like high, like Berlin's owned by the LA Kings. Mannheim is biggest sponsor. You know, they've like healthcare company, and they're well above a lot of it. Red Bull Munich obviously speaks for itself who they're sponsored by. So we have a big sponsor in Audi. Ingolstadt's where Audi cars are manufactured and made. So our city is everything Audi. Pretty much everyone works there, and it's a huge employer for our city. So yeah, we're probably like about a middle of the pack in terms of money wise, but you know, I think we kind of spread out our money a little differently, opposed to maybe paying 1-2 guys a ton of money, and then some guys on a lower spectrum. It seems to be kind of more of a camaraderie with our team, and that's probably why we're successful. We have pretty good depth. So,
So maybe talk about the atmosphere. You said you played here during the COVID year. It's a lot different experience now, much more what you're used to. So maybe talk about the European experience, playing in front of a packed barn, and kind of having that soccer-like mentality, as I've heard from several players that have played overseas before, whether it be in Germany or another country for that matter.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's like the soccer hooligans. It's unbelievable. I mean, where I play here in Ingolstadt, we have we actually would have on the lower end of the attendance in terms of the league, but our super, or like our mega fans, that's like our fan section it's bonkers. They're absolutely insane, and it's so loud, and it dictates so much of the momentum of the game. And like you play in these big rinks like Cologne or Mannheim or Berlin. It's like 10,000, 14,000 fans of just like loud as can be. It's a pretty unreal atmosphere. It definitely makes coming over here like a much more enjoyable experience, because it's just it's something that when you're done playing, you'll always remember.
What's the typical game day look like for you in a place like Germany, whether you're at home or on the road? I would imagine the road trips across your league aren't too arduous, but what's maybe the longest trip, and what's maybe the shortest trip, whether you're home or away?
We just had our longest trip, so we bus there this time, but the next time we'll fly. So it's about 10 hours. Well, it's probably about 8 hours or 7, but on a bus and with stops, and it takes some time. So that one's in Bremerhaven. So that's on like the border of Germany and Denmark. It's way up north, and that's a long trip. So we're in Bavaria. That's in polar opposite of completely north. So that's the longest trip, but the shortest trip, probably like Straubing or Augsburg. It's about an hour, or Nuremberg's about 45 minutes. So we have like 3 or 4 teams that are all kind of within reach, or Munich, Augsburg, Nuremberg, Straubing, and ourselves. And then most of the trips are at least 3-4 hours.
Mhm. Talk about what it's like being a Canadian living in Germany as a hockey player. I would imagine it's quite the unique experience, as I've heard from so many other Canadian players who have gone overseas. They've been treated like gold, and that's kind of been the experience for them. What's it been like for you and your family?
It's been awesome. Like, I was in Finland previous years, and it's a different experience in terms of the hockey. And where here in Germany, it's been they just, like, the fans here just open up their arms, and you feel like you belong right from the get-go, and with chanting your name after games or before games and just stuff like that. It's pretty incredible. And then in the city itself, like it's a decent sized city, but it's really small, and you see a lot of the fans around the city, and they'll always say hi and wish you the best. So it's been a really cool experience, and I love it here to the point where I don't know if I would play anywhere else, to be honest. I really enjoy where we are, and great place to start a family. And a lot of my teammates, most of them have kids and are either Canadian or American, so it's a good spot.
Now, you talked about, you played in Finland for a couple stints before coming to Germany, and that they're kind of split based on the seasonal totals. You're pretty much rotating 1-1. What made that experience different in Finland compared to here?
Well, there's a lot of pressure in Finland, and like for the two teams that I played for in Finland, they're the top end teams in the league. So it's constant pressure to perform and to succeed. And if you're not, you definitely feel it. It's like playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the NHL. Like when I was in HIFK in Finland, it's the biggest city, the biggest budget, the biggest rink, the biggest fans, like you name it. And if you're not, if you don't win, it's considered a fail because, you have all the resources to succeed. So that was challenging there in Finland. There's also not so many import players. So like for them to bring in a Canadian goalie, they think their mentality a little bit more is like, we would like to keep our homegrown players in Finland, and we don't need imports to come in to make our league better. And that's where here in Germany, we have a mixed bag of, obviously you have to have X amount of Germans playing, but we have a lot of North Americans here.
Mm-hmm. And let's wind the clock back a few years. Let's maybe talk about your minor hockey days growing up in Prince George. Just maybe talk about your early hockey days. What made you want to become a goalie, and some of your earliest minor hockey memories in BC's Northern Capital?
Yeah, I mean, like Prince George is awesome hockey town. You grow up and that's pretty much all you know, or that's what it felt like at least. So I have an older brother, and he had hey buddy, sorry. Hey, go. But you want to see this guy here?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, this is the puppy.
Yeah. Chocolate Lab?
He's a flat-coated retriever, which is golden retriever, but he's brown. So he's 5 months old. He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But no. So like I said, I grew up as a player, and then my brother, basically, if I wanted to play with him and his friends, then he made sure that I was the goalie if I wanted to do that. And then as I got to, I think, 10 or 11 years old, I switched fully from player to goalie. And then I think it's actually good. It's a good lesson for like a lot of kids, is that I never made the top team growing up in like minor hockey. I usually played on the B team as a first year, and then the AAA team as a second year. And that's kind of how my whole career went when I was playing minor hockey in Prince George. I would play the B team, then AAA, B team, AAA, and then finally when I got to midget, I went and played in the KIJHL junior B. But obviously just so many fun memories, and so many, you grew up with those kids your whole life. And I was lucky enough, I played with like a guy named Ryan House, who was kind of like a child phenom, and we, playing with him growing up brought a lot of attention to our team. And, I think that really helped a lot of our players too. And yeah, it was, we had some good teams, and obviously it was hard to win back then when you're playing with North Shore Winter Club and Burnaby Winter Club and those teams, but we always competed. And so lucky actually to grow up in a town like Prince George, where we were given so many resources with hockey, and it was nice.
Who are some of your idols growing up?
I was a big Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Curtis Joseph. Those were like my guys that I really enjoyed watching. Patrick Waugh was probably my favorite goalie. He was kind of crazy, and yeah, I loved watching him play. So much confidence, and yeah, he was probably my idol, I guess. Like in terms of a professional, I guess.
Mm. Now, you talked about going junior B first. You played Princeton Posse for a year, played one game with Quesnel, and then you really got your first big break with the Pawiliw Kings in 2009, 2010, going 15-11. Then it wasn't until the year after in 2010, 2011 where you went 36-8. You were named the league's top goalie, along with several other accolades with Pawiliw. Just maybe take us through that season.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I don't know. It's just when I grew up playing in Prince George, I always just wanted to play on the top team. And then when I played junior B, I wanted to play junior A. And when I played junior A, I wanted to play college. And I never really thought about like what was next. I just wanted to play at a high level. So when I got to Pawiliw, it was very eye-opening because I played for a good team. We went to the finals that year, and I was the backup goalie. But I still played a good amount of games, and that got me, I think, prepared for the following year, where ultimately I had a young backup goalie that year, and they instilled a lot of faith in me and just, played me a lot. And once that happened, I think I just kept the ball rolling with the momentum I had. And the team I played with in Pawiliw, again, we went to the finals. We lost, but I had a huge D-core in front of me that did so much for me, made my life easy. And then, I committed to Quinnipiac that year. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, that just gave me the right opportunities at the right time. And obviously I was pretty lucky to get those chances because not everyone does, but I also took advantage of those chances too. So it goes hand in hand, I guess.
What was it like living in Pawiliw? It's more of a coastal community. It's a little bit smaller, maybe not quite among the bigger centers, but how did you like living there?
I liked it. I went from Princeton to Pawiliw, so it was quite the change in terms of communities, but it was nice. It's a beautiful place, honestly. Like the summers there is super nice. You're right on the water. Yeah, it was the billet families were incredible, and it's a very, I mean, you're there to play hockey, and you definitely know that. So you kind of focus on that. The travel wasn't great with the ferries, but I was lucky enough. When you play for good teams and you win a lot of games, that's usually kind of what you remember. So I think I was fortunate enough for that.
And then the following year, you end up going to Penticton in what was arguably one of the best teams ever, 2011, 2012, 41-4, 1.93 goals against average, 927 save percentage, and just going on and on and on with the accolades, best goals against average, best save percentage, second straight year, BCHL champion, Doyle Cup champion, RBC Cup champion. That must have been quite the team.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, one of my best friends from that team I play against here in Germany, so it's pretty funny. He was my roommate in college, and then now we're playing against each other in Germany. So the amount of guys that I played with on that team that either played in the NHL or the AHL or pro in Europe is there was a lot of guys, and that's says a lot for a junior A team. I think every BCHL team, would be lucky to have a couple guys play pro in their career, where we had, probably double digits. So it was when you're surrounded by such good players all the time, and creates a good environment, and the town kind of rallied behind us that year. Obviously, I'm sure it wasn't hard to do. And then, yeah, just crazy, winning all the championships and to get there, and you play so many games to do that, but it was a fun year.
Yeah, obviously some of the names like Mike Riley, Troy Stetcher, Bruno Gervais, just to name a few. I can imagine it wasn't that hard to get to where you were with household names like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were scoring so many goals, and it was best defense is a good offense. So that's definitely our mindset when we played that year. But yeah, there's a couple guys there was Troy Stetcher, Mike Riley, Stephen Fogarty. He still plays in the AHL, the NHL. Travis St. Dennis is over here. Bryce Gervais in Europe. Joey Bennick had a pretty good career. I mean, there's probably guys that I'm forgetting, but it was crazy. It was fun to go to the rink every day, that's for sure.
Would you say the expectation in Penticton was similar to what you experienced in Finland to a certain extent, because the expectations are so high and it's championship or bust almost every year there?
Yeah, I mean, you just know that when you go there that you have a little bit of pressure just on its own. But when I kind of went there at that point, I wouldn't say Penticton was like as dominant as maybe they had been in the past. I think we were just kind of starting to build that, and we just got it's crazy how the chips fall, we just got so lucky by getting these players from the USHL that year. And I think that just created a domino effect, because once we had so much success and those players came there and had success, I think they see that now to this day, guys leaving maybe USHL or leaving college or whatever to go back there and play. You're getting a top-notch facility, good coaching, really, it's a really nice city, and it's a good place to play. I mean, I can't really say any bad things about it.
And you go from Penticton to Quinnipiac, another memorable 4 years in the NCAA, which culminated in another championship later on in your tenure. Just maybe talk about, the reasons to commit to Quinnipiac, as well as your whole entire experience there.
Yeah, again, looking back on all this stuff, it's just I was very lucky to you kind of get to these places where I did, and then have success where I did, because you go in blind and you really have no idea. And for me, I didn't go on a fly down, which is like a visit to a school. So I didn't go on any of those. I didn't have my SATs written at the time. So you have to have your SAT written to go on a visit. And like I said, I was from Prince George. I was just playing to play at the high level. I didn't know, I wanted to get a scholarship, but I didn't know what it took to actually do it. So that year, when I was second year in Powell River, I started talking to schools, and some of these schools were like, do you want to go to school? You don't have your SATs written. You got to get on this. So long story short, Quinnipiac was the very first school that talked to me, and I felt like a little bit of loyalty there. And the assistant coach there at the time was doing the recruiting, and I just felt the connection with him. And he stayed in contact with me very frequently. Obviously, came and watched me play quite a bit as well. Then they also had a pretty good rapport with guys from the BCHL, so that made my decision a little bit. And then I go there, and I mean, it's just a beautiful campus. It's in Connecticut. I had no idea where that was. I'm 20-year-old kid from Prince George, first time really going to the United States, and I'm in these big classrooms and starting all over again, it felt like. And the facility was beautiful, and coaching staff was awesome. And I went in there, and the team was okay every year. They were like sixth place, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever, not nationally ranked. And then I was the backup goalie my first year, and we end up being number one team in the country. And we lose in the finals in the NCAA, and our goalie left, and then I became the starting goalie. And same thing, we just took off. We were just like one of the best programs in the NCAA, and to this day, I think right now they're ranked number 2. So it's pretty incredible, honestly. I just got lucky. I came into a place at the right time, and I got given a lot of opportunity there. I played a lot of games from my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And same thing, I was just playing to play at a high level. I didn't even know, what my aspirations were. I just just had the mindset that I just wanted to keep playing, and I was signed an NHL contract from there, and still playing hockey at the age of 31, and pretty lucky. And I think that Quinnipiac was it's probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm still playing.
Yeah, that I know you had 3 really good seasons, back to back to back. Obviously, you were the backup your first year there when they enjoyed some on-ice success. But that 2015-16 year was really that year that helped propel you to that pro contracts. Just maybe talk about that season.
Yeah, again, like my junior year, I had a really bad start to the year, but I had a pretty good season. It just didn't show maybe numbers wise, but I did have a little bit of interest from some pro to the Canucks development camp, and I went to the Bruins development camp. So I knew I had a little bit of NHL interest, and like I said, didn't know if it was really a possibility, but that senior year, it just seemed like everything clicked, and I think we only lost 4 games total in the entire season, and that's including the final game in the national championship. So it's I don't know, it just, our coach had a really good system. We just bought into it, and for me as a goaltender, I think I benefited from that, and I was confident. I had a lot of confidence, and when those things kind of align, then good things happen. And by the end of the season, I was lucky enough to have a couple offers to the NHL, and that's how, from BC, from British Columbia, pretty much a no-brainer. I wanted to sign with the Vancouver Canucks, and yeah, that's maybe a decision I shouldn't have made, but you can't look back on your career and make, say those things. So.
Yeah. Well, you had a couple of NHL defensemen or NHL players on that last year in Quinnipiac, and Devon Toews and Connor Clifton. Of course, Devon Toews winning a championship with the Colorado Avalanche. That must have been pretty cool for you to see, albeit from a distance overseas, to have one of your ex-teammates win a ring with Colorado.
Oh, unreal. I watched the game. I remember watching the game, and Travis St. Dennis, myself, and Devon Toews are pretty good friends. So I was actually at Devon Toews' Travis St. Dennis's wedding, and Devon was one of his groomsmen, and I was one of his groomsmen, and Devon wasn't there, but for obvious reasons. So it was pretty awesome. He literally got married, and then we watched on TV, watched him win the game. And it's funny, same thing though. And this is like why I believe that college is such a good route for players, because Devon Toews was a really, really late bloomer. And, when he was in college with us, I had no idea he was going to be an NHL defenseman, yet alone how good he is now. I mean, when he got drafted, I was surprised. So not that he was a bad player, but I just didn't, I didn't realize how good he really was until my senior year, his junior year. He kind of took a step, and it was pretty obvious. Okay, holy man, he's fast, and he breaks the puck out well, and it looks like he's not even trying. So it's he's a good player.
Yeah. And then, of course, you toil around with the East Coast League for a few years, win another championship with the Newfoundland Growlers in another hockey-crazed community there. Just maybe talk about winning it in that part of Canada. There's not a lot there, but, they really love their Growlers in Newfoundland, and that must have been probably one of your more unique experiences, not only living in that part of the country, but winning in that part of the country too.
Yeah, again, just right place at the right time, and what a highlight of my career for sure. I mean, I've won at the junior level. We won a conference championship in college, which was pretty incredible, and then I was able to win that in the ECHL. And I don't know, it maybe because it was pro hockey, but it just was so hard. It was so hard to do, and winning it there in Newfoundland, we won at home. It was incredible. I mean, I think the city's awesome. I really love it there. Special type of place, special people. Like, it's kind of a crazy place, and winning there is a lot of fun because the rink is right downtown, and you basically hop over the rink, and you're on one of the more packed streets called George Street, and the fans just embrace you. And yeah, it was fun. It was a fun week or so after, and definitely a highlight of my career. I mean, it's hard to win at any level, yet alone pro. So it was good.
Did you have to kiss the fish after?
Oh yeah, we got screeched in.
What was probably the most unique part of living in a place like that?
It's crazy because it's in Canada, so I'm Canadian, but it feels like you're in a different country sometimes. It's kind of people speak their own dialect, and they have their own, like, thick accents with their own words, and that part was definitely different. The culture's different. It's the weather's kind of iffy. It's rain a lot, snow, wind. Flying in and out of there can be pretty dicey from time to time, but overall, like, it's probably one of the more favorite places I've played in North America for sure, not comparable probably. And the organization as a whole, from Toronto Maple Leafs, Marlies to the Growlers, is top notch. They treat you so well from bottom to top, and that makes a huge difference. And I think when you get treated like that, it's a lot easier to succeed.
And would you say that was maybe a turning point in your pro career, because it did land you your European opportunities in Germany and in Finland, and that kind of really propelled you to that level to come over, and you're kind of seeing what you're seeing now as a continuation of that year in Newfoundland?
Yeah, it was. I was going to retire. I wasn't planning on playing after that year, and here I am still playing. So the Toronto Marlies wanted to sign me back for another year, and then we had talked about an offer in Finland, and when I didn't really know anything about it, but like, this is how good of an organization Toronto is that they wanted to sign me back. That had offered me was a great team, a great organization, and they said it was no brainer. You should go. It's going to propel your career in a different way. And sure enough, I went there and had a fantastic year, and it's allowed me to, play the game I love, experience a different culture, travel the world, but also, like, financially, it's been really good too, actually. So that's obviously a bonus, and I'm lucky to play a game I love for a living. So it's good.
How much longer do you see yourself playing over in Europe? I would imagine the lifestyle and obviously the schedule is a little bit more forgiving, a lot more maybe work-life balance, I guess you could say. How many more years do you kind of see yourself going kind of overseas?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I could stay here for the remainder of my career, I'd be happy, and or in Germany for that, is, I guess you could say. It's good. The lifestyle's good. Body's fine as of now. So, if I'm healthy and happy, and my wife is happy, and I think that's all that really matters. I won't put a number on it, but I definitely have a couple more years. Also have a couple more contracts, so gotta honor that.
Yeah. Well, Michael, it was fantastic to have you on our podcast, and to finally get a chance to interview you, and it's just an honor to have you on. So thank you for taking the time to speak with me, and maybe we could do this again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah.
All right, and that is our interview with Michael Garteig. And what are your thoughts on that one there, Brendan?
Oh, it was obviously different recording the interview from 9 hours away, as he was 1 o'clock his time when I recorded, and it was 5 a.m. for me. But other than the time zone difference, it was just nice to talk about the journey, talk about the hard work, talk about the support, and all the opportunities that have been presented to him over the course of his time. And it's just a story of perseverance and character and just going through the struggles. And it's a journey and a lesson that's not uncommon in our sport, where you have a guy that has a lot of success that maybe overlooked at one level, or maybe had to work a little bit harder to get to where he is, to outshine a couple of guys next to him to try and carve out his niche or his spot in the game. And Michael Garteig certainly taking the ball and running with it with ERC Ingolstadt right now. And it's been a great career move for him. And I know that he's loved the culture change since going overseas, also playing in Finland as well. But it's one of the things that you see in the DEL, Canadians coming over and enjoying the league success. Also in that DEL league, of course, Brandon Manning, Garrett Festerling with the Staalberg Tigers. And I know that Alex Roach, another former Cariboo Cougar and Quesnel product, also playing in the DEL. So the German league, well represented not only of Canadians, but of Northern hockey products of years gone by.
That's awesome. And I think, yeah, it's cool to see a lot of these Northern athletes that are able to go find homes overseas and be able to continue their hockey career playing at a pro level.
Yeah, and for Garteig, it's the lighter schedule. Obviously, can be some arduous travel plans depending on where you are in the country and where you're traveling to for your game. But a unique experience, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Many would say, and those Canadian hockey players, when they do come across the pond, they're treated like gold there. And for Prince George's Michael Garteig, certainly no exception to that.
Excellent. And next up here, we have young and up-and-coming goaltender Ryder Green, who's currently holding the starting position for the U17 AAA Cariboo Cougars, as well a draft pick, as we mentioned earlier, of the Brandon Wheat Kings. And Brendan, what are your opening thoughts before we head into this interview?
Well, Ryder Green, for my money, has been arguably one of the top, if not the top netminder at the U17 level this season. You take a look at his numbers. He's won 8 starts this year. He's barely lost when he's been in the Cariboo goal. Mind you, Cariboo's had a ton of success this season, but he's been one of the backbones of the Cougars this year. And it's nice to see a guy make that next step. We saw Ryder last year with the U15s, taking that gradual rise with a lot of the kids that he grew up playing with last year into this year's team at the U17 level. And very, very smooth sailing for Ryder. He's taken that next step, as you would expect a goaltender of his caliber to do. And the scouts are starting to notice him, of course, getting selected by the Wheat Kings in the WHL prospects draft. And just talked about many things, and what a lot of people might not know about Ryder is he was like getting introduced into the sport, not playing hockey until the age of 10 as he was a soccer player. But besides me telling everything, I'll have you, Ryder, tell you all the chat and the journey himself. With more on it, here's my chat with Ryder Green. Well, the Cariboo U17 AAA Cougars are having a banner year in the BC Elite Hockey League, just 2 points out of first place, nip and tuck there with the Valley West Giants and the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds. And a big reason for the team's success is one of the players with me that's in between the pipes for the Cariboo Cougars, that being Ryder Green. Ryder, welcome to the Hockey North podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, Ryder, it's been a pretty good year for the U17 AAA Cariboo Cougars. A very well-balanced team, very tight among the standings. What seems to be going right?
I would say our offense. This year we actually have some good offense, and we're actually scoring when we need to, and it's coming good.
Now, you've been a big part of the success, 7-0, 1-1 in the crease this year. You played for the U15 program last year, Ryder. Just maybe talk about taking that next step in your development in between the pipes.
I would obviously say be more confident. I've gotten definitely more confident over this year and being more calm inside the crease.
Mm-hmm. It was a big off season for you, not only going from the U15 to the U17 program, but getting drafted in the Western Hockey League prospects draft by the Brandon Wheat Kings over the summer. What was that moment like for you?
Outstanding. Probably one of the best moments I've ever felt, and I'm so excited to be part of their community, and I can't wait to go forward with them.
So maybe take us through that first camp experience out in Manitoba there. I would imagine it was I don't want to say a culture shock, but maybe a little bit different of a setting than maybe what you're used to here. Just maybe talk about how that whole experience was and what that first initial taste of WHL caliber hockey was like for you at the rookie camp.
Well, for starters, the landscape was definitely a little different. No mountains, just all wind. But yeah, my first prospect camp there was pretty cool. Some pretty cool people down there, and I can't wait to go forward with them and go there next year.
Did kind of like the coaches or GMs kind of give you any advice or any pointers heading into the season at all, Ryder? They kind of tell you anything?
They just told me to the main thing is just to be disciplined and keep being a good person and just moving on, and that's really it.
What's the biggest thing that you worked on individually over the summer?
I would say growing my confidence.
How would you best describe your goaltending style? And is there anybody locally or anybody in the NHL that you try and pattern your game after?
My favorite goalie was Carey Price, so I kind of like to represent his game a little bit.
Maybe talking more about this U17 team. It just seems to be a bit of a different hero every night for your team. Just taking a look at the scoring page for your team, Lucas Woodbeck, 15 points, Ryland Bissett, 14 goals, 4 assists. You name it, Cash Caban, Noah Pierce there, double-digit points. William McKay's got 10 goals. Just maybe talk about how important that balance is among that team, knowing that the opposition can't just key on one player.
Yeah, it's really good. We have a good set of 3 lines, and we just all roll all 3 of them, and we just buzz sometimes.
What's it like to go through this this experience together? Obviously, you've played with a lot of these kids for a while. Even some of these teams, some of these players on this roster, you played at the U15 level just last season. What's it like to go through that process together, knowing that you've all played together at a certain level, you've all played together at a certain time, and you're continuing that that evolution process, as it were?
Yeah, I would say we all know each other pretty well now, and we're bonding and becoming a much better team by every practice, every game. And I think we could really win a championship this year.
Just maybe touch on, obviously, growing up in Prince George, or maybe some of your earliest hockey memories, and how did you get into hockey?
Well, I first started when I was 10, and I was originally a player. And one time my goalie didn't show up one time, and I stepped in the net, and then we had our first tournament, and I'm pretty sure it was Mackenzie, and we won it. We won first, and then after that, I kind of just started developing in-house, and I took off U15. They wanted me, and they said, we don't know where you came from, but you're really good. And then I just started developing, and now I'm here.
You talked about not starting playing hockey until you were 10. Did you play any other sports before getting into hockey?
Yeah, my father and I really liked soccer at the time, and I used to really enjoy playing soccer.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel that kind of helps you with your conditioning or lateral movement, knowing that and your footwork, even knowing that you've played another sport? Does that kind of help at all? Do you kind of see any similarities between the two and some of the certain skills or some of the body movements, as it were, as a goaltender now, once being a soccer player?
Yeah, I would say the probably the conditioning is probably the same, like running back and forth, and goalie tender, you kind of have to always stay like on your feet. But I would say it's kind of different because we play Suey and warm up and we get our reactions in. But I wouldn't say it's as reactive as a goalie, and sometimes you have to be really dialed in, especially on some of those games.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, let's talk more about your season. It's been very close in the U17 standings all year. You take a look at the top 6, top 7. Not much difference in terms of points. I think it's only like 9 or 10 between the first 6 or 7 spots. How does that push your team to become better, knowing that there's not going to be a lot of easy nights for your team, and you're really going to have to earn it if you want to stay in the upper echelon in the standings?
Yeah, I would say like if our team shows up and we put 110% every night, every practice, and I think we can really stay up top.
Do you have like a favorite road trip or a favorite opposing rink that you like to play in? Obviously, you play out of the Ken arenas all the time here in Prince George, but when your team travels, is there a certain road rink, road city you like to visit or go through?
I don't mind the Valley West Giants' arena. They're I think it's called the something Sportsnet Arena. I really enjoy that rink. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a certain team that you really get up for more than others?
I would say probably the T-Birds. They're a pretty tough team this year, and we've had some struggles with them, but I think this year we should be able to beat them.
What's the number one goal for you as you continue to develop as a goaltender from this season? What's the one thing you really want to take away from the year?
I would say obviously being more confident again, and trying to play the puck a lot more this year. I'm really trying to spread my wings out and try new stuff when I'm on the ice.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like players or coaches like Chris Joyce, who's with the Cariboo program, is he trying to kind of give you a few pointers on how to be more efficient with the puck on your stick?
Yeah, I would say so. He's always pushing. He's always telling me to push myself, and he's always pushing me, which is good. And I really like that he helps me give out pointers and stuff. And yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Now, do you room with any specific teammates on the road? Any superstitions or rituals that you or some of the players have to do in order to get psyched up for a game?
Well, I always bunk with Brady McKay. Me and him are always bunked together every road trip. And I would say my one superstition is I always have to wear my Montreal socks when I play. And I also always have to put my right skate on first.
Yeah. Do you snore louder than he does?
No, I do not.
Yeah. Anyways, just maybe talk about, do you have like there's a sense of pride coming from the north and places like Prince George, knowing that you have to travel a little bit further to get to places or certain tournaments? Do you feel like kind of adds an extra layer of grit and toughness where, like, as compared to like players from like the greater Vancouver area, the road trips are generally much shorter and they don't have to travel as much distance? You kind of feel like there's a distinction between the two?
Yeah, I would say being like in a little farther down in BC, yeah, it's definitely a little tougher, especially the island trips. But I think we adapted pretty well to the bus trips and wherever we go.
Yeah. Well, Ryder, thank you very much for coming on the podcast here, and best of luck to you throughout the rest of the season. And maybe we can do this again here sometime in the future.
Yes, thank you again for having me.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, and that is our interview here with Ryder Green. And what were your thoughts on the interview there, Brendan?
Well, first thing that stood out to me, and I mentioned this earlier on in our chat before throwing it over to Ryder, is that, everyone has a different path. Everyone has a different developmental curve, if you will. Like I mentioned, Green didn't get started playing hockey till he was 10. He was mainly a soccer player, and it was kind of an accident that he became a goalie. As he mentioned during the chat, that the goalie they had on his team didn't show up and he had to play. And then ever since then, he kind of grew into the position, as it were, and he hasn't looked back, and it was probably one of the best decisions he ever made, as he's definitely been taken notice of by scouts at the WHL level, as I mentioned, listed and drafted by the Wheat Kings. And if he puts forth a very solid season, I'm sure he's going to get a very long look by the Wheat Kings brass the next time camp rolls around next August here.
No, for sure. And I think that's a cool thing to mention there. That's he didn't play until he's 10, and the opportunity for him to find I'd say his stride in the game between the pipes is the original goalie not showing up. And, I think that's definitely a cool story for a young athlete. And sometimes often, a scenario like that, it's like nature abhors a vacuum and there's a hole that needs to be filled. And sometimes that's what's needed to start something special.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right. And that's going to conclude our episode here of the Hockey North podcast. It is Christmas coming up, so we will not be recording for the next 2 weeks. We will see you back here again in the second week of January. So from all of us here at the Hockey North family, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Spend some time with your families and loved ones. And we hope that everyone stays safe during these holiday seasons.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I need to know.